All right, so get this. Today we're going deep, deep dive into the future of work. And you wouldn't believe where we're finding these incredible insights. We're talking about decoding the brilliance of Sallyann Della Casa
Sallyann Della Casa.
straight from her LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually fascinating how much you can really glean about someone's vision by just looking at their online presence, how they choose to present themselves.
Right.
And we're talking about everything from her company, GLEAC, her thoughts on mentorship, all of it.
Yeah, we're talking about section, articles she's shared, comments she's
This is
made.
true.
It's like this treasure map, and it's leading us to this deeper understanding of where work is headed.
Yeah.
Right? So for anyone who hasn't yet encountered the amazing Sallyann Della Casa,
Right.
she's all about human skills
Yeah.
in the age of, well, everything but human skills, right?
Right. Right.
And she's really sort of spearheading this whole movement through her company GLEAC.
Yeah, and one of the things that really struck me was her emphasis on proximity,
Oh,
which seems kind of counterintuitive, right?
yeah.
In our digital world.
Right.
But she makes a really compelling case for why it matters, why it still matters.
Okay, so break this down for me. Proximity.
Yeah.
Like what's the big deal? Because I thought, online learning,
Right.
isn't that supposed to be like the great equalizer,
Right.
bringing everyone closer together?
Yes. In theory, yes. But think about how many online courses you've signed up for versus how many you've actually completed,
Oh, yeah?
And those dismal completion rates, I mean, they point to a disconnect, right?
Totally.
And so Sallann's argument is that it's that lack of real-time guidance, that absence of someone to kind of bounce ideas off of to push you when you're stuck,
Oh, that's so true.
that's what's missing.
I've totally been there, like
Yeah.
lost in a sea of modules, and I'm like, am I even on the right track here?
Exactly.
It's easy to disengage when you feel like you're just talking to a screen.
Yes.
So is that where GLAC kind of steps in?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So GLAC flips the script with their experts as a service model. Okay.
So they essentially pair you with real experts who can provide, feedback, guidance, knowledge transfer. It's about bridging that gap between theory and practice.
Okay.
Giving you that direct line to someone who's been there, done that.
So it's like having a mentor on speed dial.
Yes.
Someone to guide you through the trenches of actually applying what you're learning.
Precisely. And this is so crucial, especially, when we consider the rise of AI.
Right.
Think about it. Content is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But AI is generating more and more of it every single day.
Right.
Making information itself less valuable.
Wow.
So what sets you apart in this landscape? It's your uniquely human skills.
Your critical thinking, your ability to analyze and apply information in ways AI simply can't replicate, at least not yet.
Right. It's almost like the more we have, the less valuable it is in a way.
It's true. And not just, not just making sense of it, but then figuring out, okay, how do I actually use this? How do I apply this?
Right.
And that's where I think Gila Lake's micro-practice library comes in. And this part really blew me away.
Okay, yes. The micro-practice library, it sounds so cool, but give us the rundown.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So imagine a library, right?
Okay.
But instead of books, it's filled with thousands of workplace simulations.
Okay.
We're talking real-world scenarios where you can practice these essential human skills, but in a safe, risk-free environment.
So if I'm terrified of public speaking, but I know I have to give a presentation at work, GLAC can sort of simulate that experience.
Exactly.
And help me practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or let's say you want to get better at negotiation or learn how to give constructive feedback in a way that's not going to, completely demoralize your team.
Right.
GLAC has simulations for all of that and more.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like role playing, but for your career.
Yes.
Instead of just reading about it, you're actually getting to practice.
You're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the really cool part.
Okay.
Within GLAC, you can actually see how how multiple experts would approach the exact same scenario.
Oh, wow.
So you get these diverse perspectives, which is so invaluable in real life. You're not
Yeah.
just learning one way to do something, you're seeing this whole spectrum of possibilities.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So we've talked about GLEAC, but Sallyann also just shares a ton of like really insightful content, like directly on her LinkedIn profile.
Right, right.
And I was particularly struck by her thoughts on ChatGPT and just the need for critical thinking, like in the age of AI.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Okay.
Because we have, we have AI now that can generate answers and content like at lightning speed,
Yeah.
but can it truly think critically? Can it analyze information from multiple angles? Can it detect biases?
Right.
Can it form its own like well-supported arguments?
Right.
That's where humans still, have the upper hand.
Right. And it seems like one of the most important skills in this new world of work is being able to like discern fact from fiction, to
Yes.
think for ourselves,
Yeah.
especially when we're being bombarded with so much information from like all sides.
And not just think for ourselves, but also to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
And Sallyann argues that education needs to kind of shift away from just, hard skills, right? And focus more on adaptability, critical thinking, collaboration.
Right.
Those inherently human skills that are much harder to automate.
Which makes sense because what's considered like a hard skill today might be obsolete tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right. But those human skills, those have staying power.
Yes. Yes, those are the skills that will carry you through any career, any industry, any any technological disruption. They're the foundation for lifelong learning.
So how do we cultivate these essential human skills? I mean, besides checking out Jill AEC's micro practice library,
Right.
which I'm like already sold on.
Well, I mean, Sallyann also talks about the importance of cultivating a culture of innovation in the workplace.
Cool.
And she stresses the need for psychological safety, that environment where people feel comfortable taking risks, sharing ideas without the fear of being shut down.
Right. So it's about creating a space where it's okay to like experiment, to fail, and to learn from those experiences.
Precisely. And that's a responsibility that falls, both on individuals and leaders.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Individuals need to feel empowered to speak up, and leaders need to actively foster that environment of psychological safety.
Yeah. And it's about like creating that space where people feel safe to, to be their most creative and innovative selves.
Right.
Which makes me think about something else that Sallyann like really emphasizes.
Yeah.
Which is the importance of mentorship.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So let's bring this back to like our listeners.
Yeah.
How can we, even if we're not in a traditional mentorship field, how can we seek out those like guiding lights and build those connections?
Yeah, she brings up a great point, right? Proximity is powerful.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be geographical proximity anymore.
Right.
With all the tools that we have, you can find mentors in virtual communities, online forums, even through thought-provoking content like Sallann's.
It's true. You can learn so much like just by like following someone's work,
Right.
engaging with their ideas,
Yeah.
and just like seeing the world through their lens.
Yes.
And you never know, like that connection might even like blossom into a more formal mentorship.
Exactly.
Right.
And don't underestimate the power of just reaching out to someone you admire. It could be a simple message on LinkedIn or a thoughtful comment on their article or a question about their work. You'd be surprised how open people are to connecting and sharing their experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's a thought, like as you're learning and growing,
Yeah.
remember that like you have something to offer as well.
Right.
You might become a mentor to someone else without even realizing it.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Right.
It's that beautiful cycle
Yeah.
of knowledge sharing and human connection that really makes navigating this new world of work so exciting.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Sallyann Della Casa's insights, I think the biggest takeaway here is the future of work is about, Embracing human connection, continuous learning. So don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, and seek out those people who inspire you.
Yes,
And hey, who knows? You might just find yourself leading the way for others.
that's right.